Obviously, you've had countless great leaders on your offense, defense, quarterbacks, whatever it may be. But, everybody always reflects it back upon you and the leadership you've brought to the table. When you go into a game like this, kind of a primetime matchup, how do you kind of balance between, I don't want to say over-coaching your team or over-motivating your team, and how much of it do you kind of just leave up to the player leadership to kind of fill in that gap?
Yeah, two things on that front. You're right. I think we've had really good leadership over the years here, and it's been, really interesting. But this year especially, because we've lost some really dynamic guys the last couple of years. So you go back to January, we got started, and this group just kind of collectively has really done a great job, and it's been that way January on. They've just kind of built on that. So it's really kind of been diffused in my mind. And a lot of other guys have joined. Mark wasn't with us last year, but obviously he's been a great addition. Some of the newer guys have joined right in there. So it's really been more of a collective type of thing. And a game like this, there's not a lot I need to say, quite frankly. All the guys have to do is look at the film, look at the numbers, and that gets your attention. So we know what we're up against here in terms of a challenge. And I think the biggest thing right now, my job is to try to keep them focused on what we're doing and not all the other stuff going on. And there is a lot going on, I'm sure. But the challenge for us is on the field. Right now it's on the film.
John in the back.
Kirk Ferentz, WHO TV. Wanted to ask you about Mark. I know we've touched on this a little bit. Some players just seem to have that it when it comes to winning. Maybe it goes beyond the numbers. What is it about Mark that you saw and he continues to prove about why he can lead the program to wins and just keep on winning?
Yeah, I think he does have a record for that, right? I think that's correct. Read the game notes and all that stuff. So, to me, things don't happen accidentally. It's not the same as I think about Joe Von Johnson. We recruited him 25 years ago, or whatever it would have been. There's nothing about him physically necessarily that stood out. He wasn't tall enough, wasn't quite fast enough, but he's playing for Mercyhurst Prep School in Erie, Pennsylvania. Not exactly a huge school. But he just did everything well, and his team won. Ed Henkel was the same way when he was at Cathedral Prep. His teams won, from where on. And some guys just, I think it's a coincidence sometimes. They're part of that. They're not the sole reason, but they're part of it. And I think in Mark's case, that's certainly what it's been since he went to college. To me, the most interesting thing was that, no Big Ten schools offered him. And I'm assuming no MAC schools offered him either, because he ended up at South Dakota State, which is a great program. But at an early point in his career, he had great success, which is really unusual for a guy that young, and then it's just continued. So there's something about him maybe that didn't quite measure up, to meet this specification or that specification. But bottom line, it's about production and getting the job done, and he's certainly done that.
Ethan featured quads 2 times. This weekend's the military appreciation game. It's typically when your team will wear the American flag, Tiger Hawk on the right side of your helmet. Why is it important for your program to, honor those who have served this country with that very visible reflection of your appreciation, and why is that a tradition that's endured since 2009?
Yeah, I don't mean to make light of it, but I better check to make sure we've done that. I'm assuming we do, because like a lot of things around here, they just happen. A matter of people know the drill. But to the bigger point, the most important point is just towards the military, and we honor somebody each and every week, which I think is really a nice touch. Obviously the service is important, but I think also the sacrifice, and that's a huge, to me, component of people that do serve in the military. For them it's a way of life, and I'm sure it's in their blood a little bit. At least that's been my experience in visiting with people that do it for quite a while. But then you talk about the sacrifice part of it, and coaches love to talk about how hard they work and all that. I mean, the life of a military person is not easy for anybody, and to be a spouse of somebody who's in the military and then to raise a family under those conditions, it really takes, I think it takes special people. So certainly I think all of us are appreciative of their service, but also appreciate the sacrifices they make, and that truly is a life of service. So, hats off to everybody and then, we play a kids game, right? We're getting celebrated as, people out there playing a kids game. But, all the stuff we get to do in our country, came with a price. So, very appreciative of that as well.
Chad.